Welcome back to our channel. Today we're going to talk about 7 foods that can feed cancer cells. We're diving deep into the groundbreaking work of Barbara O'Neill, a respected naturopath and nutritionist. She's dedicated her life to understanding the connection between diet and disease. Stay tuned, because in the next few minutes, you'll discover why your favorite snacks might be secret saboteurs, the shocking truth about healthy foods that aren't so healthy, and a simple way to know if your body is a cancer-fighting machine or a cancer-feeding factory. Make sure to check out our previous video, 7 Foods to Fight Cancer. It's the perfect companion to this one. I've left the link in the description below. Trust me, you won't look at your grocery list the same way after this. So, grab a notebook and let's start. Before we talk about the specific foods, let's quickly talk about acidity in our diet. Some foods are naturally rich in minerals like phosphorus, sulfur, and chlorine. These minerals, when broken down in our body, can contribute to making our internal environment more acidic. When our body becomes too acidic, it creates an environment where diseases, including cancer, can thrive. On the flip side, a more alkaline environment makes it tough for cancer cells to grow. Think of it like this. Cancer cells are like weeds, and an acidic body is like fertile soil for these weeds. Now let's look at the 7 foods that Barbara O'Neill highlights as potentially problematic when consumed in excess. First, let's talk about cheese. Not just any cheese, but the aged kind. Here's the scoop. As cheese ages, it goes through changes. O'Neill explains that during this aging process, the proteins in the cheese break down into dangerous substances. Now, when you eat aged cheese, you're inviting these troublemakers into your body. O'Neill says this can cause a few problems. First, it makes your body more acidic. Second, some people might get headaches, others might feel bloated or itchy. But wait, there's more. Aged cheeses are often packed with salt and saturated fats. O'Neill warns that too much salt can make your body hold on to water, which isn't great for your heart. And those saturated fats, they're like little troublemakers that can clog up your arteries over time. Here's the kicker. O'Neill believes that when your body is dealing with all this stuff, the acidity, the salt, and the fats, it's like it's too busy putting out fires to focus on keeping you healthy. And in this chaos, cancer cells might find it easier to set up shop. Remember, it's not about never enjoying these foods again. It's about understanding their impact and making informed choices. Small changes in your diet can add up to big changes in your health. Now let's talk about hybridized wheat. Barbara O'Neill warns that modern wheat isn't the same as what our grandparents ate. It's been changed to grow faster and produce more, but these changes might be harmful to our health. Here's the scoop. Hybridized wheat contains more gluten than its predecessor. For some people, this can lead to stomach upset and inflammation. But that's not all. This new wheat can cause your blood sugar to spike rapidly. Imagine eating a spoonful of sugar. That's how quickly it happens. O'Neill warns that this modified wheat might interfere with your body's ability to absorb nutrients from other foods. Even more concerning, it could potentially damage your gut lining, allowing substances into your bloodstream that shouldn't be there. Why does this matter? O'Neill believes these issues combined can create an environment in your body where cancer cells might find it easier to grow and thrive. Now, don't panic. You don't need to cut out all wheat from your diet. Just be mindful of how much you're consuming. Consider trying other grains like oats or rice to add variety to your meals. Before we continue, like and subscribe for more health insights. Next, we have caffeine. You know, that magical stuff that turns you from a zombie to a functioning human in the morning? Well, Barbara O'Neill has some thoughts on this, and they might make you think twice before reaching for that next cup. O'Neill describes caffeine as a bit of a sneaky troublemaker in our bodies. Here's the scoop. Caffeine can actually increase the acidity in our system. Remember how we talked about pH balance? Well, this shift towards acidity is exactly what we want to avoid, as it can create an environment where diseases like cancer might thrive. But that's not all. O'Neill points out that caffeine can be quite the sleep saboteur. Even hours after your last sip, it might still be working its mischief, making it harder for you to get that restful sleep your body needs. There's more. Caffeine isn't just affecting your sleep. It's also playing keep away with some important nutrients. O'Neill explains that it can make it tougher for your body to absorb crucial nutrients like iron. It's like caffeine is standing in the way, blocking these nutrients from getting where they need to go. So, why should we care about all this? Well, O'Neill believes that when our bodies become too acidic and stressed, which can happen with excessive caffeine consumption, we're essentially rolling out the welcome mat for unhealthy cells, including potential cancer cells. Now, this doesn't mean you have to swear off your morning cup of joe entirely, but it might be worth considering how much caffeine you're consuming and perhaps looking for healthier alternatives to get that energy boost. Now let's talk about red meat and processed meats. First off, O'Neill compares eating red meat to carrying a heavy backpack all day. Imagine your stomach lugging around this weighty load. That's what it's doing when you eat a big serving of red meat. While your body's busy wrestling with this meat, it might not have the energy for other important jobs. Now, when it comes to processed meats like bacon, sausages, and deli meats, O'Neill is even more concerned. She sees these as not just heavy, but potentially harmful. These processed meats often come with added chemicals for preservation and flavor. O'Neill compares these to unwelcome guests that can stir up trouble in your body. Here's where it gets really interesting. O'Neill believes that when we eat a lot of red and processed meats, we're basically rolling out the welcome mat for cancer cells. But why is this happening? Well, O'Neill points out that eating too much of these meats can cause inflammation in your body. There's more. O'Neill explains that red meat can make your body more acidic. O'Neill isn't saying you can never enjoy a juicy steak again. Instead, she suggests treating red meat more like a special occasion food, not an everyday staple. It's like cake, delicious as a treat, but not great as a regular part of every meal. When you do eat red meat, O'Neill recommends going for quality over quantity. Choose high quality, preferably organic options. She also suggests swapping some of that red meat for plant-based proteins or fish. Remember, it's all about balance. Next is refined sugar. Barbara O'Neill has some eye-opening things to say about this sweet troublemaker. First off, O'Neill wants us to understand that cancer cells are like greedy little monsters, and guess what their favorite food is? Sugar. When we eat foods packed with refined sugar, it's like we're throwing a feast for these unwanted guests. But why is sugar such a big deal? Well, O'Neill explains it like this. When we consume refined sugar, it's like pouring gasoline on a fire in our bodies. It causes our blood sugar to skyrocket faster than a rocket ship. This sudden spike isn't just a wild ride for our bodies, it's also an open invitation for inflammation. Now, you might be wondering, what's the big deal about inflammation? Well, O'Neill describes it as a kind of internal stress that can damage our cells over time. It's like our body is constantly fighting a little war inside, and this ongoing battle can weaken our defenses against diseases like cancer. But that's not all. O'Neill points out that sugar also turns our body more acidic. When we make our internal environment too acidic with all this sugar, we're creating the perfect conditions for cancer cells to grow. So what can we do about it? O'Neill isn't saying we need to swear off all sweet things forever. Instead, she suggests we become sugar detectives. Start reading those food labels, and you might be surprised where sugar is hiding. It's not just in obvious places like candy and soda. It's sneaking into our bread, sauces, and even foods marketed as healthy. Last but not least, alcohol. Now, you've probably heard that a glass of red wine now and then might be good for your heart. While there's some truth to that, O'Neill wants us to look at the bigger picture. She explains that alcohol, in general, can be like a wolf in sheep's clothing when it comes to our health. First off, O'Neill points out that alcohol is highly acidic. Remember how we talked about our bodies being like a garden? Well, alcohol is like pouring vinegar on that garden. It can throw off our body's delicate pH balance, creating an environment where harmful cells, including cancer cells, might find it easier to grow. But that's not all. O'Neill explains that alcohol can be quite the troublemaker in our bodies. It's like sending in a wrecking ball. It can damage our cells, including the ones in our liver, which works overtime trying to process and eliminate this toxin. So what's the takeaway here? O'Neill isn't saying you need to swear off alcohol entirely if you enjoy the occasional drink. but she does encourage us to be mindful of our consumption. Maybe instead of that nightly glass of wine, you could try a sparkling water with a splash of fruit juice. Or if you do choose to drink, perhaps make it a special occasion thing rather than a regular habit. There you have it, the 7 worst foods that might be feeding cancer cells, according to Barbara O'Neill. Remember that balance is the name of the game. We're not saying you need to completely cut out everything we've talked about. Instead, it's about being aware and making informed choices. Try to focus on adding more of the good stuff to your plate. Fresh fruits, vegetables, whole grains, and lean proteins can be your best friends. When it comes to the foods we've discussed today, consider them more like occasional guests rather than permanent residents in your kitchen. Now, here's something really important. While making healthier food choices is great, it's not a substitute for proper medical care. If you're concerned about your health or notice any unusual changes in your body, don't hesitate to reach out to a healthcare professional. But don't stop here. If you haven't watched our video on 7 foods to fight cancer, be sure to check it out next. It's packed with positive steps you can take to boost your health. Now, we'd love to hear your thoughts. Have you tried cutting any of these foods out of your diet? How did it make you feel? Share your experiences in the comments below. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, feel free to ask in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to stay updated on more health-boosting content. See you in the next video.